Well, guys, after 4 episodes, this show has finally given me what I wanted with its strongest entry yet. Hey guys, Cameron for Animal Kingdom, Season 1, Episode 4, Dead to Me, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. Even though, like I said, last week's episode I had a few complaints with, especially everything going on with Baz and things like that, I was really looking forward to this episode because I have been enjoying the show overall, and finally this episode was pretty perfect. I honestly really love this episode. I think this episode was amazing. I think this episode finally gave me what I wanted. There were some incredible scenes in this episode, and so many great scenes just with the family and for all the characters in general, and honestly, I care pretty much about every character now. I haven't really cared about characters like Darren and Craig, but in this episode, I actually do care about them. Let's just get into this episode because I really enjoyed it. There's actually a lot to talk about that happened. Starting off at the beginning, we see Pope is sitting on the edge of his hotel room bed, stiffly, and his alarm goes off and he leaves, and Darren wakes Jay, tells him sorry about the pool. Jay says it's cool, because we know that whole situation that happened with Darren in the pool and everything, you know, what ended up happening there. I thought that was really interesting. Jay says it's cool. Darren offers to let him punch him, and Jay says no. And Jay asks him what the carving on the bed is, and Darren says that if Smurf asks, basically, to, you know, just tell her that they're cool and everything, to not tell her anything about it. But of course, you know that eventually he's going to find out, because in the past, we've seen on the show, when someone doesn't tell Smurf something, she finds it anyway. She just has that motherly instinct in her, and it's something that I really think is interesting about Smurf's character. Even though she's not Jay's mom, she kind of acts like she's Jay's mom in many ways, and I think it's overall really interesting the way they're doing that. But Baz and Pope are there at the house, and Pope can't figure out the espresso machine. Darren comes in, wants to know where's breakfast. Smurf didn't cook, we find out, and Darren says that Craig is coming later to play paintball for Pope's birthday. Smurf comes in, tells the boys they're taking Pope out skydiving, and she kisses her son. We find out that it's going to be Pope's birthday. That's basically the main plot of this episode. She kisses her son, says it sounds fun. Pope says it's all stuff they want to do, walks out. Smurf asks the boys they need money. They say no. Darren tells her things are good with Jay. She walks out, and you can tell that definitely they're hiding something. I mean, obviously, we know they're hiding something as well. So, Baz tells Smurf they need to get back to work. She asks about Lena, and he says Catherine has been sick, and Smurf says that she can help, and Baz says that she's pissed because she took her kid, and Smurf says that she hopes she feels, because obviously, yeah, Smurf did, you know, she was with Lena even though Catherine told her she didn't want her with Lena, things like that, so obviously Catherine's not really happy with Smurf right now, and she walks off. She finds Jay undressed. Again, a very weird scene, because again, it really does show that Smurf doesn't really have boundaries when it comes to her kids. And even her grandson, she says, I changed, you know, she says, probably one of the greatest, like, comebacks I've heard someone give that's like a grandmother is that I change her diapers every day. I mean, yeah, she's not wrong when she's saying that, but obviously there's a big difference between a baby's naked body and a teenage boy's naked body. There's a big difference between that. He gets dressed, she asks if he needs anything, like money, and she lays down some undies, basically, and then she says, don't tell your uncles, because they're on her for weeks, and asks him if he knows the boys are planning to pay for Pope's birthday, and he says he's heard nothing. You can tell throughout this episode, she knows what's going on, she just wants him to tell her, so that way he won't get in trouble, and you can definitely tell that secret is looming over in that episode, and that's something that I definitely really did enjoy. So Smurf then goes back and tells the boys that she's getting some things for dinner. She threatens them if they get any pay on the house. Craig is getting busy with the girl from He Buys Drugs From, Renn, and I actually like Craig in this episode, believe it or not. There's a situation he deals with later in the episode that I actually really did enjoy. I thought, well, not enjoy, but I actually did feel bad for him because of it. And honestly, I love Craig and Darren just because I think Craig and Darren are kind of bullying Jay, and just it isn't really that likable of a trait, obviously. But I think they did some good stuff with them this episode, definitely. Darren and Baz are then shooting each outside, running around with paintball guns, and Darren then shoots Pope in the back, lies down a paintball gun and runs, and they tell him to shoot them. He tosses it aside, then bashes it with a sledgehammer. They tell him that's a new gun, and Baz says Smurf got arrested and tells him let's swap the phones. They text Craig the emergency code. He runs out on his girl, and they load up the trucks. They're ready to leave town. Craig then pulls up, and they grab cash. They head for the safe house, and Baz tells Jay to get in the car, and Pope is really mad, says they can't leave him behind. They all load up, they peel out of the house, and They pull over. Pope gets out, checks things out. They head inside and they unlock a padlocked door. They sit down their food and supplies, and Baz says they still have to sit quiet. And Jay tells them that he doesn't have a passport. And obviously, they're trying to wonder why Smurf got arrested, because they know she got arrested, but they don't know how she got arrested. You know, what happened there. There obviously is a reason why she got arrested. Now, what that reason is, we don't know at this point, but obviously there was a reason why. So Poe tells Baz to send Catherine. They hear a car. They all pull guns. They go check. Jay watches with fear. Someone bangs in the door, and it's Smurf. And she says to try not to shoot her. She comes inside, asks if they brought the passports, and Baz asks if this was a test. She asks for the cash and keys too, because we realize that she actually wasn't arrested. This was just a drill, basically, which is crazy. But again, you know, she's the matriarch of the family, so she kind of is in charge. And again, that's something that I would love to find out more about, is how does Smurf become the matriarch of the family. But Baz says he didn't touch it. Darren yells at her for putting them through this for nothing. Smurf said, and honestly, yeah, they have reasons to be upset with Smurf. I mean, she literally said that she was arrested and she wasn't. And Smurf says they're running bullshit jobs behind her back, and she knows that definitely there's something going on. She's really pissed. She tells them that someone better come clean and tell the truth. And the boys all look at each other. Smurf says there's no next job, says no more money, they're on their own. Darren asks what they're supposed to do, but she says she's done talking. And I love Ellen Barkin, just killed it in this scene. She does a great job, because honestly, Ellen Barkin at times, you know, she's kind of like Gemma, where she really does care. And I've heard many people compare her to Gemma, and yeah, it is a fair comparison, definitely, because Gemma, she really cared about her family. When she got angry, she was a scary lady, and that's exactly what Smurf is. I think Ellen Barkin doing a very good job with this. And Darren asks what they're supposed to do, but she says she's done talking. The other boys walk out. Jay follows them carrying the bin they told him to carry. Smurf and Baz then hang back, and Smurf says this was all meant for all of them, not them. And Baz says he did nothing behind her back, and she says put that shit back where it belongs. And obviously, again, she's really pissed at what's going on here. So Nikki then asks Jay why he was late to school and if he's okay, and he says his morning was weird. She liked to join and offers him a hit out behind the bleachers. She asks what 4-year-olds like to eat, and she shows him that she's wearing the watch. And we don't know how she got the watch back, because as we know, he stole the watch before. So how'd she get it back? I don't really know. But she asks about it being his mom's, and she says it's a big deal, and kisses him. She says she'll never take it off again. Jay says don't wear it at his house, and says the family was arguing over some of his mom's shit. And basically we find out that it was his mom's birthday, pretty much in the scene. You know that we basically realized it was his mom's birthday. No one seems to care. A teacher then comes over, catches them with the joints, and I really like the way the scene was done. I thought that it was interesting how Nikki got the watch and everything. I don't really know how she got the watch, but obviously, you know, Jay's saying don't watch it because they're going to steal it, so very interesting the way that's going. So the teacher then sends Nikki off after Jay, says it's his, and the guy heads, because obviously, you know, they had pod and everything, so the guy heads to the airfield to go skydiving, and Darren tells Craig he's worried the Smurf knows they burned the SUV, and that, you know, he can kind of tell the Smurf knows there's something going on. So the teacher asks Jay what's going on with him. He asks if she's going to kick him out of school. She asks for his lighter. He hands it over. She goes to stand by him, lights the joint, tokes with him, and again, this is the teacher that, again, I feel like likes Jay. Like, she doesn't act like a normal teacher. She has a crush on him, and again, it's a really weird storyline, but honestly, it's working out really well, because you can tell that Jay really does not like her. And she asks for his lighter. He hands it over. She goes to stand by him, lights the joint, tokes with him, and she asks if he surfs, and tells him a photographer friend has an exhibit on surfing and asks him to go with her. And again, just a really weird scene overall. But Darren then asks Craig what he brought back from Mexico. Pope asks what they cleared, and Pope says they did the job with the kid and made more than they did. And Darren and Pope argue about Darren running. Craig throws Darren out, then jumps too, and they both go skydiving. So Baz and Pope then bicker. Pope jumps out next. Baz follows, and Smurf finds Nikki waiting at the curb of the house, invites her to wait inside by the pool. And I kind of like the relationship that Smurf and Nikki are having. She kind of treats Nikki like her own daughter, which again is really weird, because Nikki is Jay's girlfriend, but she treats her like a daughter. It's just really interesting. I kind of like their overall relationship. It seems like at this point, Nikki's kind of used to the way the Codys are with everyone. Definitely you see that. So Catherine's at the house when Jay comes by with food for Lena and says he heard Lena was feeling bad, and Catherine asks why he didn't go with the boys today, and he shrugs. He brought mac and cheese, and basically Catherine lets him inside. Obviously, you know, Baz goes to his dad's place. He's not there. He checks the trailer, but the guy is nowhere, and again, we got that kind of twist last week that Baz could be related to, Jay. He could be Jay's brother. And again, we don't know who their father is. Their father's taken off. Jay doesn't know who his father is either. So I feel like that's going to be a big part of this, definitely. And he checks with his cash stash. And, well, he knows who his father is, obviously, but he can't find him right now. And he sees the money is still in the lockbox. And he hides it, then looks around again. Craig then goes back to Renn's place. And she looks dead of an OD in the bathroom with froth in her mouth. And like I said, even though I haven't loved Craig as a character, I genuinely felt bad for him. I mean, this girl clearly OD'd. No one should really have to go through that. You can tell the heartbreak in his face, and the actor really did a great job here. I gotta say, this really was his moment in this scene here. So he loots the place, taking drugs, jewelry, and then pulls cash out of a drug money spot. And even in that sense, you can tell that he can't help but steal things, because that's just kind of how their life is. And it's really crazy the way that scene went. I really did actually genuinely feel bad for him. No one should have to go through that, and Jay then cooks macaroni. Catherine realized that it's his mom's birthday too, since she's Pope's twin, and he says no one even mentioned her. He asks if she knew his mom and about her and Baz, and Catherine says that Baz tried to get his mom help. Then she started to take money, and obviously that didn't work, that wasn't good, obviously. So, and I like the way we find out more about his mom in this episode, but basically, now we know that it is his mom's birthday. That's why he's so upset. That's why he didn't go with Pope, and that's why he didn't really celebrate Pope's birthday, because it's his mom's birthday too. Well, at least it would have been. So Jay then says his mom told him that Smurf turned against her, and Lena then runs in, ready to eat macaroni. Jay asks to use the bathroom. He spots a pic on the wall of Baz as a kid with his mom, and Smurf then asks Nikki why Nikki wanted to thank Jay, and she says that they got busted for smoking pot at school, and he took the blame. And again, you can tell that that's just something that Jay does. He never takes the blame for other people. He always takes the blame for himself. He always makes it seem like that it was his fault. And Craig then comes in, goes to his room, and it's a very similar situation to what he has been doing for his uncles. The way he's been covering up for them, the way he's been hiding it from Smurf is very similar to what he did with Nikki. And from this scene, I think Smurf, she's doing two things. One, she's getting closer to Nikki, but she's also trying to see where Jay's loyalties really lie, because she can definitely tell that someone is not telling her the truth, and she's kind of trying to figure out who is telling her the truth, and I like the way that she played this scene here. So Craig then comes in, goes to his room, locks the door, puts down the drapes, he flips it in frustration over Renn, dumps out some coke, rolls up a 50 and snorts it, and even though she just did coke, he snorts it anyway. That was kind of strange, but again, I just kind of saw it as like he's addicted and he can't help but do that. So Baz then calls the ER looking for someone named Blackwell. Now, who this is, we don't know. And we find that it's his dad. He tells the ER he would have come in as John Doe, and he ends the call. Baz comes home, says he needs to talk to Catherine. She says, Ricardo called because the rent is past due. Snaps at her because they won't live cheap in one of Smurf's places. And Catherine rants at him for blowing money on Pope's birthday. Lena asks for more macaroni. Baz finds Jay in his room looking at pics, and Baz said he can't just come around here, then asks if Smurf send him, and Baz said this is his house and his family, and he can't show up, and basically, he's not allowed to just show up unannounced like that. And Catherine then gets on to Baz, reminds him that it's Jay's mom's birthday too, not just Pope's, and Baz looks really frustrated. He's nodding, and Catherine rants at Baz for asking her to say sorry to Smurf after she stole her kid, and Baz screams at her to fix it. And honestly, Baz is being kind of a dick here. Especially because we know that he has a whole other life in Mexico with this other girl that, again, I still don't really understand what's going on there. I kind of accepted it more in this episode, but definitely you can tell that Baz is not really the best for Catherine. Catherine asks what's going on with him. He says nothing. He says Smurf is icing him out and says he's trying to handle it. He says he messed up and feels like shit is getting out of control. Catherine hugs him. She says Smurf will get over it because she needs him, and Baz then tells her to call Smurf, make things right. Later, Smurf lights a candle on Pope's birthday cake. She calls Pope her beautiful boy, toasts her firstborn, and they all drink a shot. Jay sits and stares. Pope starts to blow it out when Jay speaks up, says it was his mom's birthday too. Smurf says yes it is, then tells Pope to blow out his candle. He does. And I like that they did, in fact, include his mother. They didn't just forget about her. I thought they were going to, but they don't. Later, Smurf then cuts the cake, and then we get what I think is probably the standout scene in this episode, where the guys are all at this strip club, and they took Jay along. Craig then tells him that Smurf knows about the jobs, but Baz says they're going to stick together and don't say anything, and she won't know shit, and they call girls over, and Pope asks for this girl who gives really good ton, and Pope pays Pepper to give Jay the ride of his life. She takes him to Cash to a private area. The girl comes over to give Pope a real, basically a private dance and everything. We realize that we know that Pope was in jail for 3 years. In that time, he hasn't been able to have sex with a girl. So this is his first time having sex with a girl in 3 years, and honestly, it was really interesting the way this was done, because they go to a dressing room, she kicks out the other dancer and tells Pope he can touch her. He says he had a hard time getting an erection. She says she can fix it, because honestly, he hasn't felt attracted to a girl in a while. Now, we do know that he clearly did like Nikki, but that sort of seems to have gone away. I don't really know, but he tells her to stand over there. She does. He has her turn around with her back to him. He tells her to take off her clothes. She does. He looks at her, then says turn around. She does. He comes over. She says she gotta wear that. She says that he has to wear the rubber. He gets close, touches her arms. He says that they can't, and she does. He tells her that they can't. She unzips and grabs the condom. He says, say like you love me. She says it over and over, and he does. And he basically has sex with her standing up. She grimaces as he does it roughly with her back turned, and a really interesting scene, because again, you get the sense that he doesn't exactly know what he's doing. It seems, to me at least, that he didn't even know how to have sex after this. So I just thought it was a very interesting scene. Really like the way that was done. Very interesting there, and for me, definitely was the highlight of the episode. I really like the way that scene was done. Pope then paces, asks Jay where's Darren, and he says in the back with girls, tells Jay let's go, and says screw Baz. He takes the car keys and they leave. Pope pulls the car over. Jay tells him he didn't say anything to Smurf, and Pope says good. Turns off the car, tells Jay to get out. He does. Pope asks if he reads the Bible, starts talking crazy revolution about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and out of all people, you don't think that Pope would be this religious, but he genuinely seems like he is, and he asks if that's them, and Jay asks who, and Pope says him, Baz, Craig, Darren, and Jay says he doesn't think so. He thinks that they're really the 4 horsemen, and Jay tells Pope he said nothing to Smurf, and he tells Jay to go over the fence. They both climb over a fence, and they're in a cemetery. He asks if he remembers where Julia is, and Pope says he thinks he brought him to the wrong side. And even though we've seen Pope be very disturbing and just really weird all this time, and, you know, very erratic as well, he genuinely seemed like a nice guy here. Like, it genuinely seemed like he was just trying to do a nice thing for Jay, and I kind of like seeing that here, basically. I thought it was actually really well done. So Pope says no one even says her name. Jay says yeah. Pope and Jay then sit down on the ground. Pope asks if his sister ever talked about him, and Jay says sometimes. Pope says when they were kids on their birthday, they would tell each other their candle wishes, and Pope says it felt like a secret between them, just the two of them. Jay asks about Julia and Baz, and Pope asks what he means. Jay asks if they were close too. Pope says that Baz has a way of getting what he wants, and Pope says he didn't know that she would never come back, and Jay tells him it's not his fault. He gets why they thought they had to kick her out. He says it was the drugs, right? And Pope asks who told him that, and he says Catherine, and Pope says it's cold, stands up to leave. He walks off. Jay follows, and Smurf is then rolling up a joint when Baz and Darren come home. She asks for Jay. They tell her that he must have gone with Pope, and Baz asks if Catherine calls, and Smurf says no. Smurf asks if either of them have anything to say to her, then tells them that they can sleep at their own places, and Darren says yeah right. She tells him he can't sleep there tonight, and he throws down the sandwich he made and walks out. Baz then tells Smurf that Pope pulled a job with Darren and the kid. She's shocked that he took Jay, took Jay, and she asks about Craig. Baz says that Craig brought a package from Mexico and hid it from him, but says that he made sure it wouldn't happen again. Smurf has a guy over, and he shambles out and asks about the joint one, and you're wondering who this really is. You know, maybe it's Nikki's pot dealer, you don't really know, but clearly there was someone there. Craig then goes to see Renn at the ER after she called him. He asks what happened, and honestly, again, I felt bad for Craig. You can tell he genuinely seems to care about Renn. Before, it seemed like this was just a girl that was giving him drugs, but it genuinely seemed he does care about her, because he asks what happened, and he says she OD'd. The neighbor found her. Says she got ripped off, some bastard stole everything, left her there. He asks if she knows who. She shakes her head. She says she's gonna find out who did this to her, and he's gonna hurt him for her, and she'll make it worth his while. Craig is stunned that this actually happened and what's going on, because obviously now he has to find this guy. Who could have done this to her? We don't know, but now Craig's plot has suddenly got a lot more interesting, and I really do like that. So Jay then comes home, finds Nikki passed out in his bed. Smurf asks him to come kiss her goodnight, and this was an incredible scene. I love the way this was done. Ellen Barkin, again, just killed it in this scene. Probably the best ending we've had of Animal Kingdom so far. Not that Animal Kingdom have bad endings, it's just this show hasn't had, like, a amazing ending. This ending was amazing. I love the way this episode ends. He goes to her in the dining room. Smurf says she told Nikki she could sleep over. She tells him to come sit. He does. She hands him a cupcake with a candle, says for him. She says he told her the boys did nothing behind her back, but it's not true. She knows straight out that it is not true, that definitely they did do something behind her back. She said he's a good liar. He's his mother's son. Smurf says the mistake she made with Julia was to give her too many chances. Smurf touches his face and says, don't ever lie to me again. She walks away. Jay lights the cupcake candle and stares at it, knowing that, obviously, what he could have done was really bad. That is how the episode ends. Really good stuff overall. Let's get more into this episode. So overall, guys, really great episode. There was a lot of really great things that happened here. Mainly the relationship with Smurf and the boys. I mean, you can really tell that while Smurf is very protective of her boys, she's also very much, she pretty much wants to know everything that's going on. They can't lie to her. She'll find out everything that's going on. And I really did enjoy seeing that. I think it's really interesting, especially if Jay lies again. I'm really wondering what's going to happen, because Smurf said, I gave your mother too many chances. So what does that exactly mean? What is she going to do to him if he does lie to her again? I mean, I don't think it's going to be the first time that Jay does something for his uncles, because it seems like he really does care about them, and he really does want to help them, and he's starting to really, I think, fit in with this family, and especially with Pope taking him to see Julie. I think that alone really showed that he can trust them and that they're not bad people, and I really did like seeing that. I thought that was a really well done scene. But what else is there that's going to happen here? Definitely something is going on also, what is going on with Smurf and this guy? Who was this guy that Smurf was with? We don't really know. I'm wondering if that might be Nikki's pot dealer. I'm not really sure. That's going to be really interesting. As far as Jay and this teacher, I don't know what's going on with Jay and this teacher, but just the way she talks to him, it's not the way a normal teacher talks to someone. I mean, she talks to him like she's in love with him, not like she's just a teacher. Really weird. We'll have to see what's going on there. Baz, definitely, I mean, you can tell there's a lot of things on Baz's plate right now, besides the fact that, what's going on with Smurf. It's also the whole situation going on with his life in Mexico, and that other girl he's with, who I can't remember her name, but he's with her, and I'm pretty sure that eventually Catherine's gonna find out about her. If she doesn't already, we'll see what happens with that. That's gonna be really interesting. I like where Craig's plot went, though. I actually am really interested in seeing what's going on with Craig, that he has to now go after, find, Renn's, this guy that was after Renn. Is he gonna track him down? What's gonna happen there? That's gonna be really interesting. Craig kind of going on a revenge mission. Not exactly where I thought this was headed, but I like that because it's making me more interested in Craig's story. I didn't really care about Craig before, and now I really do. I think it's a lot more interesting what's going on there. I can't wait to see what happens with that, because I think that's going to be really interesting. I like the bonding, like I said, between Pope and Jay. There was something I think they showed really well here, is the bonding between those two. I really did enjoy that. Is Smurf ever going to get Catherine's trust back? Right now, Catherine really wants nothing to do with Smurf. It seems like she wants to be left alone, while it seems like Smurf is trying to get closer with Nikki, so we'll have to see what's going on there. Now, why Catherine doesn't trust Smurf, I mean, I think it's understandable that Smurf is just a little too overprotective, and she treats every child like it's hers. I understand that, but Catherine clearly does not like Smurf, and again, we don't know why Smurf became the matriarch of the family. How this happened, what happened there. I honestly want to get some flashbacks into what happened there, but overall, guys, really enjoyed this episode. Really good stuff overall. Definitely, like I said, best episode for me, at least. Was it a perfect episode? No, there were still some glaring errors, definitely, especially with Pope. Why is it that they've, all this time, in characterizing Pope as the deep, disturbing guy, who's like, really weird, and just anything he says is weird, and then this episode, he seems like kind of normal. Not normal, but he seems like he's somewhat of a nice guy. I just don't really know where that came from all of a sudden, just kind of came out of nowhere. Craig as well, like, why is he still smoking when, his girlfriend just OD'd? Like I said, maybe he's just that addicted. I'm not really sure. How did Nikki get the watch back as well? I don't really know how she got the watch back. Does she know that Jay stole it? Because he clearly stole it from her. How she got it back, I don't really know, but we'll have to see. Overall, guys, so much guys saw his steps, left your thoughts on it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the July movie preview. I meant to put up last night, didn't get a chance to, but I will put up today, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.